Hello everyone. In today's video, we will follow Ken as he continues his journey inside a secret underground shelter hidden deep in the forest. Over the past 6 months, he has spent countless days working completely alone beneath the ground to build this incredible underground home with his own hands. Starting from nothing more than raw earth and stone, Ken slowly dug tunnels, expanded underground rooms, built a ventilation system, a deep well, a handmade water pump, a heated bed, a mushroom farm, and even a swimming pool beneath the ground. So now, let's begin today's journey and explore this incredible underground villa together. He chooses a hillside made of laterite soil as the location for building the underground shelter. Laterite soil has a very stable structure, making it strong enough for underground construction while still being easier to dig by hand. After selecting the perfect location, he begins clearing plants and opening up the entrance through the forest. Every step of the process is done entirely by hand, slowly preparing the site for the massive project that would continue for many months. Digging an underground shelter like this requires an enormous amount of time and physical strength. Day after day, he has to break through layers of hard soil and carry heavy loads of earth out by hand. A slow and exhausting process that pushes both his patience and endurance to the limit. Every meter of tunnel beneath the ground comes from countless hours of difficult labor, especially inside the narrow underground space, where the heat, humidity, and lack of airflow make the work even more exhausting. He makes a simple compass using string, helping shape the table evenly. A round earthen table slowly takes shape as the shelter goes deeper underground. Hauling out soil and rocks becomes harder. He uses 2 long wooden poles placed parallel as rails. The bark is stripped smooth to reduce friction. The wooden rails must be strong enough to carry the direct weight and guide the soil cart. The rails are supported by wooden stakes. The top surface needs to stay flat to reduce friction. The soil cart is made from small branches. Underneath is a guiding frame to keep it from slipping off the rails during transport. With skill and clever thinking, he built an efficient rail system using only simple materials. It saves him a lot of time and effort. Load after load, the soil is moved out of the tunnel, much easier than carrying heavy bags by hand. Once the space is large enough, he starts building a bed. He carefully marks out the bed area. The top is shaped into an arch. Since the tunnel has no support columns inside, the curved shape helps keep the soil stable and safer. Hand-dug tunnels have existed for generations. But this work takes real experience and strength. One mistake can cost everything. He doesn't just build a bed. He carefully carves patterns into the walls as well. He also carves many small niches into the walls, places for candles to light up the shelter. A simple earthen bed is finally completed. Though made entirely from soil, it still feels carefully crafted and full of character. Without taking much rest, he begins building an underground stove. Another difficult part of the shelter slowly takes shape. When building a stove underground, the most important part is the smoke ventilation system. If it isn't designed carefully, the shelter won't be safe to live in. A fire underground can warm the entire shelter, but without proper airflow, smoke can quickly fill the tunnel. He dug the chimney all the way up to the surface. A massive chimney shaft. The stove sits nearly 16 feet underground, so if the shaft were too small, he wouldn't have enough space to dig that deep. Looking at the depth of the chimney, you can imagine how much work he had to go through. Truly impressive and worthy of respect. Before finishing the stove, he uses a candle to test the chimney one more time. Watching the flame carefully to make sure the airflow is working properly. With his careful attention to detail, every part of the work is done slowly and precisely, making sure everything is as perfect as possible. From the stove, he builds a heat channel running toward the bed area, allowing the warmth to spread through the shelter at night. He connects bamboo tubes together to create an airflow system. The bamboo joints are hollowed out inside, helping the heat move through the pipes more efficiently. Even the pipe connections are made with great care. Everything is fitted together as precisely as possible. Once the bamboo pipes are ready, he checks everything one last time before installation, making sure every connection fits properly. All of the pipes are hidden inside the walls. That makes the installation much more difficult and time-consuming. The heat is released through small vents carefully arranged around the bed, allowing warm air to spread evenly across the sleeping area. After finishing the entire pipe system, he carefully seals everything back with layers of soil, hiding all of the heat channels inside the walls. Looking at the shelter now, the walls still appear almost completely untouched. After completing the entire system, he lights the fire and begins boiling water for the first time. But this is more than just cooking. It's also the final test for the heat channels hidden inside the walls and beneath the bed. The heat slowly begins moving through the channels. Warm air starts reaching the vents, and thin steam can already be seen rising from the outlets. The next problem is the bed itself. Sleeping directly on the damp earth would never be comfortable, so he begins splitting bamboo strips to weave a sleeping mat. Since the bamboo is still fresh, it needs to be dried over heat first to prevent mold from forming later. After drying the bamboo strips over the fire, he begins weaving them together with rope. Each strip is carefully tied into place by hand. Slowly, the rough pieces of bamboo come together, forming a strong and comfortable sleeping mat for the underground shelter. After taking a short rest, he continues expanding the underground shelter. More space means a more comfortable place to live in the long run. The next chamber looks even larger than the first one. The deeper he digs, the more impressive the underground shelter becomes. Just look at the amount of soil and rock he has dug out. It's hard to imagine how much effort this took. Truly admirable. The amount of soil and rock he has removed is estimated at nearly 50 cubic meters. An incredible amount of work for a shelter dug entirely by hand. He even plans to build a swimming pool and a well inside the underground shelter. A massive project that goes far beyond a simple survival tunnel. The deeper the shelter expands, the more unbelievable his ideas become. The swimming pool also has a drainage system running beneath the floor, helping the water flow out more easily from inside the shelter. To keep the pool from leaking into the walls, he lines the entire inside with stone and termite clay, creating a sealed layer strong enough to hold water underground. He also carefully spreads a layer of small gravel on top, making the surface cleaner, while giving the pool a more natural and beautiful look. Every part of the underground shelter is slowly becoming more complete. What once looked like a simple dirt tunnel is gradually turning into a real underground home. Built entirely by hand, with patience, skill, and an unbelievable amount of effort. To have a steady source of water for daily use, he decides to dig a well directly inside the underground shelter. Another difficult task added to this already massive project. Digging a well by hand beneath the ground is never easy, especially inside an underground shelter like this. No one knows how much deeper he will have to dig before finally reaching water. But he continues working silently, one layer of earth at a time. The deeper the well becomes, the more humid and slippery it gets inside. Climbing up and down is now much more difficult and dangerous. So he secures a rope tightly to wooden stakes above, making it safer and easier to move in and out of the well. Seeing water slowly seep through the soil gives the young man even more motivation to continue. The young man continues digging through another layer of wet soil, then carefully clears away all the mud and loose dirt from the bottom of the well, preparing the space and waiting for the groundwater to slowly collect. A deep well like this cannot be left open inside the shelter without protection. One mistake could be extremely dangerous, so he begins joining wooden planks together, creating a cover to secure the mouth of the well. Not stopping at just digging a well, he even begins building a handmade water pump, using only rough natural materials and large pieces of wood. The large log is carefully carved out by hand to create the main water container. Every cut requires patience and precision, slowly turning the rough piece of wood into an important part of the water system. Besides that, he also builds the piston, the crank handle, and even one-way valves completely by hand. Using only simple materials like wood and rubber, he carefully crafts each part by hand. Through his skill and patience, a complete piston system slowly comes together. He carefully measures the water pipe before carving the piston piece by piece. Every small detail is shaped with patience and precision by hand. He uses a handmade drill to bore holes through the wood for the one-way valve system. Every detail has to be carefully aligned for the pump to work properly. He even cuts apart his own rubber boots to make the suction and discharge one-way valves for the pump, using whatever materials he can find around him. It's hard to imagine that such a complex water system is being built from nothing but wood, rubber, and simple hand tools. But through patience and remarkable craftsmanship, each part slowly comes together. To assemble the different parts of the water pump, he melts down tree resin to create a natural adhesive. The sticky resin helps seal and hold the wooden components together more firmly. A simple method, but incredibly effective for a handmade machine like this. Before assembling everything together, he carefully checks the pipes one more time. Then uses pressure to force water through the system, filling the pipes completely before installing the remaining parts. An important step to help the handmade pump operate more smoothly later on. The water inside the well has risen significantly and is becoming much clearer. A rewarding result after all the hard work and patience. After covering the top back with layers of soil, almost no trace of the well can be seen from above. No one would believe that beneath this quiet underground shelter lies a deep water well built entirely by hand. Everything is carefully hidden under the natural surface, making the entire place look untouched by human hands. The next step is applying the adhesive and assembling all the parts of the water pump together. Every connection has to be sealed carefully and precisely. This stage is extremely important because if the adhesive isn't strong enough, all of his hard work could easily fail. Every part of the system, from the water pipes and one-way valves to the piston and hand lever, is carefully assembled, piece by piece by him. Each connection must fit together perfectly. He continues to surprise us again and again. It's hard to believe that a working water pump could be built from such simple materials. With nothing more than wood, rubber, tree resin, and handmade tools, he slowly turns an impossible idea into reality. The first drops of water finally begin to flow out of the pump, a rewarding result after countless days of hard work. More than just water, it is proof of the young man's determination, patience, and remarkable ingenuity. He even pays attention to the smallest details, placing candles carefully around the bathing pool. The blue color of the water the white stone walls, and the warm glow of the candlelight all blend together beautifully. At this point, the shelter no longer feels like a simple underground tunnel, but more like a true underground villa built by hand. The pool water needs to be changed regularly to stay clean. So he installs a drainage pipe system beneath the floor of the shelter, allowing the old water to flow out more easily before fresh water is pumped back in. To create a more reliable food source, he first tries growing vegetables inside the shelter. But deep underground, there simply isn't enough sunlight for the plants to survive properly. So he changes his plan and begins growing mushrooms instead. A much more suitable choice for the dark and humid environment inside the tunnel. He digs dozens of deep holes to bury the wooden support posts underground. Using the materials he still has available, he cuts small holes all along the bamboo tubes. After that, the bamboo is carefully dried over heat before being used. If moisture and mold remain inside, the mushrooms will struggle to grow properly. Even worse, harmful fungi and toxic mold could begin spreading through the shelter. Drying the bamboo completely takes nearly 24 hours of continuous heating. Because of that, he has to watch the fire constantly to keep the temperature stable. A slow and exhausting process, but necessary to prevent moisture from remaining inside the bamboo. The next step is preparing the sawdust mixture for growing mushrooms. Everything has to be heated and sterilized at high temperature beforehand. If the material is not treated carefully, mold and harmful fungi can easily spread and ruin the entire crop. The preparation stage is probably the most time-consuming and exhausting part of the entire process. After finishing the sterilization process, he begins filling the bamboo tubes with sawdust, mixed together with mushroom spawn. Each tube is packed carefully by hand before being placed inside the underground shelter for cultivation. The bamboo tubes are buried upright in long, organized rows inside the room. A smart way to make full use of the underground space while still keeping everything neat and easy to manage. More importantly, It gives him a stable source of clean food deep beneath the ground. Looking at the underground room now, it feels more like a hidden survival farm than a simple shelter. Every empty space has been used carefully and efficiently, from water, heat, and food to a place for rest and daily living. After finishing the mushroom farm, he begins decorating the underground shelter even further, carefully cutting and shaping the soil by hand, little by little, until the walls begin to look like rows of real bricks. A small detail, but it makes the underground home feel far more complete and beautiful. Just watching the way he works is enough to understand how much time this project consumes. Every small detail is shaped slowly by hand, requiring an incredible amount of patience and precision. The mushroom cultures are also growing rapidly in the ideal underground environment. The cool temperature and constant humidity inside the shelter create perfect conditions for them to develop. After finishing the carving work, he begins coating the walls with burned limestone. The bright white color instantly changes the entire atmosphere of the room, making the underground shelter look cleaner, brighter, and far more impressive than before. What makes this underground shelter so incredible is not only the scale of the construction, but the dedication hidden behind every detail. Day after day, he works alone beneath the ground, carrying soil, carving wood, building systems, and solving problems one by one with his own hands. It's hard to imagine how much time, effort, and determination were needed to create a place like this. From the ventilation system, underground well, handmade water pump, heated bed, swimming pool, all the way to the mushroom farm, every part of the shelter reflects careful planning and remarkable creativity. And perhaps the most impressive thing of all is that he never gives up halfway. Even the smallest details are completed patiently and meticulously, as if this underground shelter was once only a dream that he slowly turned into reality with his own hands. He splits the bamboo into thin strips by hand, then slowly weaves them together into large panels for the ceiling. Every piece has to be arranged carefully to make the structure both strong and flexible enough for the underground shelter. The process takes an incredible amount of time and patience. Strip by strip, The rough bamboo gradually turns into beautifully woven ceiling panels, not only helping reduce falling soil and dust from above, but also making the underground room feel warmer, cleaner, and far more complete. Looking at the shelter now, it no longer feels like a tunnel dug beneath the earth. The bamboo ceiling, the white walls, the soft candlelight, and the carefully designed rooms all come together to create the feeling of a true underground home. He uses long bamboo poles and wooden beams to create support grooves running all around the walls of the underground room. These grooves will later be used to hold the woven ceiling panels firmly in place. Every piece has to be measured and aligned carefully by hand so the entire ceiling structure can fit together perfectly. Although it may look simple, this part of the work takes a huge amount of time and precision. If even one section is uneven or misplaced, the woven bamboo ceiling above could become unstable later on. That's why he keeps adjusting every groove little by little, making sure the entire frame is strong enough to support the ceiling for years underground. After completing almost the entire interior of the underground shelter, he begins focusing on one of the most dangerous parts of the entire structure: the massive chimney system. Because the chimney was designed extremely large and deep, leaving it like this could become a serious danger during heavy rain. If too much water flows directly down inside, all of the underground rooms could quickly become flooded. That's why he decides to reinforce the entire chimney area before the rainy season arrives. An extremely difficult task, but absolutely necessary if he wants the shelter to last long term. He starts digging drainage trenches around the chimney opening, creating channels to redirect rainwater away from the shelter. Every layer of soil has to be shaped very carefully so the water can naturally drain outward instead of flowing down into the underground rooms. Even a small mistake in the drainage system could lead to serious consequences later on, especially during tropical rainforest storms when massive amounts of water can pour down within only a few hours. After completing the drainage system, he continues reinforcing the area around the chimney opening with stone and compacted earth, helping make the entire structure stronger while reducing erosion over time. The deeper and larger the chimney becomes, the more dangerous the pressure from the surrounding soil and rock gets. Constant moisture, over time, could gradually weaken the walls and cause them to collapse at any moment. That is also why almost every part of the chimney has to be carefully treated and reinforced by hand. An enormous amount of work for something most people would never even notice. He continuously carries large stones in from the forest, slowly building protective layers around the chimney opening. Every stone is carefully placed and adjusted to help stabilize the entire underground structure. At the same time, he also creates a raised edge around the chimney entrance, helping prevent rainwater and mud from flowing directly down inside during heavy storms. What truly makes this project remarkable is the long-term vision behind every small detail. He isn't simply building a temporary shelter for a few days. He is creating an underground home designed to survive long-term in harsh nature. Even after many months of constant digging and construction, he continues improving every small weakness inside the shelter, quietly solving problems beneath the ground one by one. Looking at the underground villa now, it is hard to believe this place was once nothing more than raw earth and stone. Step by step, through patience and relentless effort, he has transformed it into a true underground home. The heated bed, the well, the handmade water pump, the mushroom farm, the swimming pool, the ventilation system, and now the fully reinforced chimney system, everything reflects incredible creativity and determination. And perhaps the most admirable part of all is that nearly this entire place was built by only one person. No modern machinery, no professional construction equipment, and never giving up halfway through. Day after day, deep beneath the ground, he continues turning seemingly impossible ideas into reality using only simple tools and his own hands. At this point, the underground shelter no longer feels like an ordinary survival project. It feels like a hidden underground world, created entirely through patience, intelligence, and human determination. To protect the underground shelter from wild animals, he decides to build a large wooden door at the entrance. Deep inside the tropical forest, dangerous animals can appear at any time, especially during the night. A shelter hidden beneath the ground may keep him safe from storms and harsh weather. But without a strong entrance, wild animals could still become a serious threat. That's why the doorway has to be reinforced just as carefully as every other part of the underground home. He begins cutting large pieces of wood by hand, shaping each plank slowly and carefully. Every part of the door is made using simple tools, but the level of precision is still incredibly impressive. The wooden planks are joined tightly together to create a thick and solid barrier, strong enough to withstand pressure, moisture, and possible attacks from animals outside. Even the hinges and locking system are handmade from simple natural materials. Every detail is carefully adjusted to make sure the door can open and close smoothly underground. He even uses grass and massive stones to carefully create the entrance to the underground shelter. Instead of leaving a simple dirt opening, he slowly transforms the entrance into something that blends naturally with the forest around it. At the same time, he covers the surrounding ground with layers of grass and natural vegetation, helping the shelter merge into the environment as if it had always been part of the forest. From a distance, it becomes almost impossible to recognize that beneath those rocks and patches of grass lies an entire underground world. The entrance now feels less like a tunnel dug into the earth, and more like the hidden doorway to a secret underground villa, quietly concealed beneath the jungle floor. After finishing all the work for the day, he finally begins preparing dinner inside the underground shelter. A quiet moment of rest after countless hours of digging, building, and carrying heavy materials beneath the ground. Tonight's meal is a traditional herbal chicken stew. The ingredients are simple but incredibly nourishing, including chicken, Chinese medicinal herbs, sticky rice, lotus seeds, and a few basic seasonings. He carefully prepares each ingredient by hand, slowly placing everything into the clay pot beside the fire. As the soup begins simmering over the wood stove, the warm aroma gradually spreads throughout the underground rooms. After spending the entire day surrounded by soil, stone, and construction work, a hot meal like this feels even more meaningful. Not only providing warmth and energy, but also bringing a rare sense of comfort deep beneath the forest floor. The soft glow from the fire reflects against the white limestone walls, while steam slowly rises from the pot of herbal chicken soup. Combined with the candlelight and the quiet atmosphere underground, the shelter suddenly feels peaceful and strangely cozy. It's hard to believe that this place was once nothing more than a dark hole dug into the earth. Now it has become a real underground home, complete with warmth, water, food, and life. After preparing everything, he finally invites his parents to visit the underground shelter for dinner. His parents are already elderly, and it takes them a while to slowly walk down into the hidden home beneath the ground. As they step inside, it's clear they are completely amazed by what their son has built with his own hands. The warm lights, the solid wooden structures, the underground rooms, the pool, the mushroom farm, the handmade systems, everything feels far beyond what anyone would expect in the middle of a forest. Perhaps even they could hardly believe that the dark tunnel their son once started digging months ago had now turned into a true underground villa. His mother quietly looks around the shelter, touching the walls and wooden furniture with surprise. While his father carefully examines the underground systems, silently admiring the amount of work and skill hidden beneath every detail. Although they may not say much, it's easy to see the pride in their eyes, because everything here was created entirely by the determination and hard work of their son. Before dinner begins, he spends some quiet time harvesting mushrooms together with his mother inside the underground shelter. The mushroom farm that once started from simple bamboo tubes is now producing fresh food beneath the ground. His mother carefully picks each mushroom by hand while he gently places them into a basket beside her. A simple moment, but one filled with warmth after months of exhausting work deep inside the forest. Perhaps this is exactly what he had imagined from the very beginning. Not only building a shelter to survive, but creating a real home where his family could one day gather together. After harvesting the mushrooms, the whole family finally sits down beside the fire to enjoy dinner together. The herbal chicken stew continues simmering slowly, while the fresh mushrooms add even more warmth and flavor to the meal. The soft candlelight, the warmth from the underground stove, and the quiet atmosphere inside the hidden shelter make the entire place feel peaceful and incredibly comforting. Looking at his parents smiling beside the fire, it becomes clear that every tunnel he dug, every stone he carried, and every sleepless night of hard work were all worth it in the end. Thank you for sharing these truly incredible and valuable moments with us. We sincerely wish you and your family good health, happiness, and peace. Thank you for all the hard work and dedication behind every frame of this journey. Goodbye, and see you again in the next adventure.